All right, so you've given us a pretty good rundown in terms of some techniques. You've talked about a couple of different lures. You've run through the rods, reels, lines and leaders, and we've covered all that stuff off. But curious to see what other lures you've got in your arsenal, mate, for those days when, you know, you're not fishing the grubs or the switchblades. What else would you take out on these systems with you during the winter months in particular?
I'm really glad you asked me that, mate, because both fisheries being a kayak friendly. And we've had this conversation, we're talking about Kinchin Dam, about kayaks, pedal power versus paddle power. And both lakes at various times of the year, obviously with thick, dense weed. There's one particular technique, and there's two lures that I use during this technique. So we're actually trolling. So we're not casting now, we're actually trolling.
Yep.
And what I use is a 1/4 ounce vortex or TT striker spinnerbait. I still like my darker colours. So the purple blue scale in the vortex is the rust colour. So again, that silhouette, but it's the flash and vibration of the willow and Colorado blades on those lures that actually attract the fish. Now, I'll troll that lure about 4 to 5 metres behind my kayak.
Quite close, not a little line out.
Yeah, very, very close. Yeah, absolutely. And simultaneously, I'm actually trolling another lure behind it. So I'm trolling two rods. So I'm in thick, dense weed. And I'm talking about weed where you couldn't get a pedaled kayak. It's paddle only. And in there might be pockets of weed that are a little bit deeper, a metre in diameter, and just a little bit, like sometimes they might only be half a metre deep to the next lot of weed underneath. So it's very, very thick weed. So behind the spinnerbait, I've got a 3.5-inch Z-Man trick swims or a Z-Man 3-inch minnows. So they're both paddle-tailed lures. And, mate, I have got that rigged on a 3.0 TT chin lock. So that's a weedless rig, but I do have the hook exposed just slightly. The other thing that I use, mate, is a bait scent, so the Procure bait scent, especially with the trick swim, mate. It's a ribbed lure bodied, so I lather that with the bait scent just for an extra attractant. So when I'm trolling, the spinnerbait actually goes over those areas or those pockets of weed that are just slightly open, and then followed by that soft plastic lure. And then, mate, 9 times out of 10, they'll hit the soft plastic.
Okay.
So the flash and vibration of that spinnerbait goes over those pockets, attracts the fish up into that pocket, and then bang, they see the soft plastic and they just nail it as that soft plastic's going through that pocket.
Yep.
And that's where I caught some donkeys, absolute massive bass hiding in those areas. Plenty of food source for them in that weed. They can monitor their core temperature or going deeper if they're too hot or come up to the surface.
They are in their element because they can swim around in the shade of that stuff and just pop into those little holes that you've just described there, nab something and duck back into the shade again.
100%, Greg. They're cast shadows in those smaller areas, so they'll just find where they're most comfortable in that ambush position, mate. Grab anything that goes over the top of them. This, I suppose, goes for Saratoga as well because they love the weed just as much as the Australian bass. Right. And like some of the Saratoga that we've got in Ewen Maddock Dam, mate, are up to about 90 centimetres in length. So they're not small fish. On low light periods, you'll see Saratoga swimming around. There's a very good chance there'll be bass in the area. There's a lot of lilies around as well. Mate, all I can advise the punters is what we talked about earlier. Tight drag, cross all your T's, dot your I's, and really visualise what that lure is doing and be ready for that hit because you never know when that big fish, the fish of a lifetime, you know, that 50-plus bass or a 80-centimetre Saratoga is just going to jump on your line. And, mate, you've got to bring your A game because in some of that structure, mate, and especially in Ewen Maddock Dam, you've really got to go hard. There's been times I've actually jumped off my kayak and jumped in the water to try to retrieve that bass from any structure that it's wrapped around.